I'm an alcoholic and an addict. I have 5 years continuous sobriety, and I'm on the road of recovery.
Gloria, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to come to On the Road to Recovery today here in Summit County at Tyler's Redemption. It's amazing. We really appreciate you taking that time for us.
Thank you. Thank you
so
for asking
let's
me.
start at the beginning. Share a little bit about your childhood. So it could be family relationships, if there was addiction in there, trauma, abuse, whatever.
I had very, very traumatic childhood. My father and mother were both drug addicts and alcoholics, and toxic relationship abuse. My mom left when I was little. My dad got custody of 3 kids in the 80s. I don't know how that happened. It was unheard of. And my mom moved to Alabama. My dad was like meth, Hell's Angels, and it was just bad. It was a very violent childhood and very scary. And I think he did the best he could. I don't know how he never not paid the bills. He did. Somehow he paid the bills. And he kept us that whole time, but it wasn't good. I grew up in a very fearful, dangerous environment. So when I first got a hold of substance like alcohol, I was like, it just calmed that fear. It was a remedy. It was a solution. I was just a pure alcoholic until I was in my early 20s, and I started doing cocaine with the girlfriends, and it's fun in the beginning. It's you don't get too trashed when you go out to the club with your girlfriends, your kids at babysitter, and you just think it's fun. That was the first thing, but then it got kind of out of hand to where the sun would start to come up, and I'm like, oh my God, I have to get my kids at the babysitter. Birds are chirping, and you're like, no, the birds. And yeah, that's the first time I had actual substance issue with the alcoholism. Early 20s, 21 probably.
Okay. Can you share a funny and or tragic story that highlights your use?
I can laugh about it now because I'm recovered, and that's awesome. I can laugh about some of the stuff now, like losing my keys, or at a club and then using a screwdriver. Because I was in another city, and we go home, I don't have my car keys. Then I drive my car, my Ford Probe, with a screwdriver to turn it on and off. Losing my car. I mean, there's so many horrible things. I mean, tragic, losing my kids, custody of my children, they were like my whole world. After I started smoking crack, it happened within 6 months. I didn't have my girls. So.
How long did you not have your children?
I lost permanent custody of my children, and I was in and out of jail and prison for 10 years and hooked on crack. Yeah, they didn't, they were 3 and 6 when I lost them, and I didn't come back into recovery until they were 12 and 15. So a long time.
Yeah.
Their whole childhoods, their developmental years.
Yeah. How's your relationship with them today?
Awesome.
Yeah.
They love me. I'm a show up mom. They only wanted me to come back. They just wanted their mom. Yeah. And I am a very good mother to them. I mean, they ask me everything. I was joking with my daughter the other day on the phone with her. I was saying, you guys had the void of not having a mom, and you just want it. Because I had that with my own mom. I didn't have her. She was in another state and didn't care about me. And she had her reasons why she wasn't there. I don't want to say that she didn't care about me. She was suffering from her own addiction and alcoholism, and I have sympathy in her untreated mental illness, and she couldn't be a mom. It's not that she didn't want to be a mom, but she couldn't be a mom. So I was telling my daughter, I was like, that void you have, you want your mom. And I said, you really be taking advantage of that now that you have your mom. Mm-hmm. She would call me all the time, Mom, can you come to my work and bring me food? And I'm like, yes, I will. And she's 23.
Wow. How was your employment, mental and physical health, and spirituality affected during your use?
Employment? Seriously? I mean, some people might. I was unemployable. I was rogue, wildcat. I was just out there. It was bad. And my mental health, terrible. everything was terrible. My quality of life was terrible. I was so depressed at the end that I just wanted to die like that. And I accepted that I deserved to die like that. You know, at the end of it, I was like, this is my plight in life. I'm a piece of crap mom. I lost my kids and I'm just going to keep smoking crack until I die, you know, and it's drinking alcohol. But yeah, that's how that was.
What happened that you decided to get help?
For real, I overdosed. My best thinking was you should stop smoking crack because it's expensive and it's not easy to hide from my ex-husband. You can't hide it that easy. I was like, you should start doing heroin instead. That's how my mind thought at that time. That was like the better option for me. And it was right when fentanyl hit and I overdosed in 2015. I overdosed and I had a very spiritual, scary experience in the overdose. I'm not going to get too far into it on camera because, you know, some people might not believe it, but it was a very, very clear message that if I didn't change, my afterlife was not going to be too pleasant. And I got scared and I called out to Jesus, please help me. That was the submission point because I was terrified in that overdose. And then coming back and getting Narcan, it was very scary. That's all I'll say. Mm-hmm. That was my point where I cried out for help to God. I was submission, step one. Oh my God, I need your help. I can't, I'm scared. But I didn't get sober, but it started to seed. It started to crack a door open and I got a DUI and I got this anklet for 291 days. He's like, boom, here's your answer. And I had to wear it for 291 days. I could not drink. I'm court ordered to meetings like an IOP, and the women's recovery had women's empowerment, trauma therapy, all this stuff for just women in recovery. We did this class called Seeking Safety for 16 weeks. It was a trauma group. That was the thing for me, that I thought that all these pieces of me that were so volatile, these parts of my personality, I thought that's who I was. When I could connect that this is because you were so abused and that's your trauma response, then I could start to see some value in myself and break down those negative behaviors and coping mechanism. Before that, I just thought that's who I was. And it really wasn't. It was who I had to create to protect myself as a little girl, the trauma. And that unlocked it for me. I was like, you don't have to fight. You don't have to fist fight or scream or get violent when people say things to you. That's not even your personality. I just thought that's who I was, but I wasn't. That was like the key for me. I suggest trauma therapy. Like if you come from trauma and you're drinking and using to cope with the untreated trauma therapy obviously will have some benefit, you know. I was sober for 3 years before I got into the steps. But I started going to AA 2 years ago, and for the first 3 years I had accepted the step work you can do alone, and I accepted step one. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. My life's unmanageable. I accepted step 2 and step 3. Those are between me and God, but I didn't have support, and so I didn't know how to order my thinking. And then when I got into AA and I started to actually work the steps, I was like, what is this? Peace. I couldn't believe I had a sponsor. God bless her. God rest her soul. My support people. It was beautiful. AA is a beautiful program. I love AA. And that helped me a lot because I was like, I'm not alone in this anymore. Because I was trying to do it alone, you know?
So what does your recovery look like today?
I love recovery. It's my whole life. I mean, literally, it's just my whole life. I have a meeting here at Tyler's, my own AA meeting. I sponsor women. I take them through the steps, and I love it. It gives my life purpose. I feel like we go through all the things that we go through in our addiction, in our childhoods, and whatever trauma. But if we can grow and change and heal from it, then our duty is to help other people grow and change and heal from theirs, like a fisher of men. And it talks about it in the Bible. We are called to fish men and bring them into the light. And in AA, that's our 12-step ministry, carry the message to the man who's still sick. And I take that message very seriously because I know on this side of it, how beautiful and lovely my life is. And on that side of it, I never thought I was worthy of any of it. And I want other people to know that they are worthy of peace and just this life, you know.
What have you learned about yourself from your addiction and recovery?
Now, from my addiction, I was determined. I was strong. I was going to get what I needed. It didn't matter how. And honestly, it might sound bad, but for real, people that are addicts and alcoholics are super resourceful people, and they are very determined people. Like, and if they can recover and transfer that energy into something positive, they are definitely a force to be reckoned with. And I just realized, like, I'm like way stronger. I'm a survivor. You know, I survived a lot of really bad things in my addiction. And I learned a lot in recovery. I learned that, you know, half the stuff that I thought about myself to be true almost all my life was all defenses, just because I was hurt. I was just hurt inside. You know, I was like untreated anxiety. I was trying to make myself feel better. And I thought I had a moral failing, or there was something wrong with me, or I was a piece of crap. But I was really just doing the best I could at the time. And so recovery has given me a lot of forgiveness of myself, you know.
What are some internal and external motivators that are helping you stay in recovery? So internal yourself, external.
Well, externally, my grandkid, my family, you know, my fiance, who I adore. That's an external motivation, obviously. Internal, like, I'm not giving this piece up for anything. I'm not giving up this clean spirit, how I feel good about myself, and I can go to bed at nighttime and know, like, I didn't do anything bad, and I have a clear conscience. I'm not giving that up. That's a gift.
So I want you to share some inspiration and hope for those who are still struggling with substances.
Oh, poor babies. It breaks my heart. It does, because I know why they're doing it. They're trying to medicate themselves because they don't feel good. And I would want them to know they're worthy. They're worthy of love, and God loves them, and they're not a bad person. I mean, I just want them to know that if they could just submit and just stop and then let God lead their life, they would have the life beyond. I have the life beyond you could ever imagine. I never ever thought that I was worthy of any of this. I want them to know they're worthy and they are loved. That's my main message. When I work with somebody, I want to say, I always tell my girls, I'm so proud of you, because I feel like not all, I won't say all, but I'll say 90% from my seeing this in the recovery community, 90% of this epidemic is from trauma. And they don't feel filled up and loved. And I just try to tell those girls, like, I work with women that are grown women, and they look like babies in their face to me. They are so sad, and I want them to know they're worthy and they are loved. That's it.
Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to come and join us here today to share your inspiration and hope with those who need it most. Your story will help to spread awareness and stigma, humanize addiction, and inspire hope one story at a time.
I hope it does. Thank you for asking me.